Good evening. Welcome to our show, Ghosts Are Near, where we discuss topics that are related to the paranormal, meaning outside of the norm, the normal. I'm your host, Keith Johnson, the founder of New England Anomalies Research, and with me is my co-founder,
me,
Sandra Johnson. So glad you can join us.
I'm glad to be here.
And I'd like to give a very quick shout out to our friends at Cornwall Paranormal Researchers. They have a wonderful online show. Hello there. Yes, and that we enjoy watching it very much in Cornwall, England, and you'll get to see some wonderful historic places being investigated. So that's Cornwall Paranormal Researchers. Thank you so much.
Big fans.
Mm-hmm. And tonight, we have a very special guest who has been here before some years ago, quite some years ago. We're glad to have you back. Julie Griffin, spirit photographer, and more.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me back. It's been quite a few years now.
It has. But
Way
always,
too long.
But it hasn't been several years since we've seen you last. So
That's true. That
it's
is
always
very
a pleasure.
True.
Yeah. So, you've got some more pictures that are new, and you've got your book there.
Yes, this all started back in 2009, and about 3 years later, I went and wrote a book, and the photos have been going on for all these many years, and I have a new selection to go and talk about tonight. There's a bunch that, okay, and of course.
You do have a lot of photos, because you're always busy.
There we go.
There we go.
I wanted to go and talk about something that had happened at the Shanley Hotel.
Ah, the Shanley Hotel.
Also, when you go and do an investigation, it isn't so much about being up at 3 o'clock in the morning all the time. When I was there, I didn't get a whole lot of success when I was on the investigation itself. So I like to go and shoot the exteriors, and I like to shoot during the daytime. I've got a series of photos where I don't like the word orb, but I like to call them balls of light, balls of energy. And there's 5 different photos that you're going to be shown that have them as I move around the house. Now it's 10 o'clock in the morning when I'm shooting these. I'm literally the last person on site. Everybody's gone home. Even the people, our hosts and such, they've all left. But I'm just rolling around and just shooting off a lot of photos. You always take 3 at a time because energy can move as it changes, as it manifests. And also, your evidence is stronger if you've got a photo that has nothing in it and then one that has something in it. It makes it easier to go and rule out lens flares and the like.
Sure. I think that's important to tell the audience, too.
Yes, it is.
The amateur investigators that, taking 3 photos in quick succession, you are more likely to find something.
Oh yeah, and just it increases your odds when you go and think about how many photos you can go and snap off in an hour. If I'm at an active location, I'll be snapping off 100 shots an hour easily, which sounds like a lot, but when you're doing them 3 at a time, not really. It's not that hard to go and do. But just to go and talk about the different ones at the Shanley, but I like to go and bring up the fact that it is during the daytime. I've really had some of my best captures in the morning at 10 o'clock, at 11 o'clock. We'll be talking about one in a few minutes that I got at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I just like to encourage people to go and shoot when it's convenient. And a lot of times that's during the day, just to get out. And we can't always be in the places we want to be at 10 o'clock or midnight or 2 in the morning or, the break of dawn type of thing. So take advantage of what you have. And again, always take 3 photos in order. 1, 2, 3 when you're shooting. That's how I do it. Some people are different. Some like to go and use a burst. I like to go and make it 3 individual clicks of the camera. But that's what I have found. That's what's worked for me, and that's the technique.
From what I've seen, you're doing the right thing.
You just got to find the technique that you enjoy doing, and that's what will continue to work for you. One other phenomena that I've been able to go and catch, and that's in the form of a vortex. I've got a photo that just looks like a shelf in a basement. I'm at a private residence, but there was just this really intense energy that I was feeling, and there was something going on there. So the first picture is just a plain old shelf in a basement, no big deal. But the next one, it looks like a whirlwind has hit it, and you've just got all of these lights, and everything has moved. All of a sudden, you've got the activity of a vortex. I don't believe that vortexes are fixed. I believe that they can also move. Their intensity can also change, and I think that's why you can go and get a picture that looks like there's nothing going on, and then suddenly you have one that there is something going on.
Certainly the energy in the environment shifts and changes.
Exactly.
So it makes sense that a vortex would not be stationary.
So you could have multiple vortices just in
Yes.
the same succession, right?
Yes, you could, because energy does change. It all fits in with the different kinds of vibrations that we all feel. And a lot of times when you're doing this, when you're going out, just follow your own instincts. If in even the smallest amount you feel like, okay, there's something over there, there's something over there, take the time and take the photos, make the recording, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, whatever you have found, because that's what you're going to go and enjoy doing all the review with. I don't quite have the patience, so I don't do a lot of audio work. I just don't have the ear for it. But I can go and spend hours going through photos, and that's a lot of fun. So that's all part of it too. Find what is a fun process while you're doing it and the review time that you have to go.
That video review can be very tedious.
Yes, it can be.
We all know.
Along with the other vortexes, there's also another pair of photos. I was up in New Hampshire at the Mount Washington Hotel, and there's a room known as the Princess Room. That's a fairly active room. And we had a green laser grid up, and we also had a flashlight on the floor, and a couple of other small lights. And you'll see a photo that just looks like that. And then in the next one, the lights have now, it's a sweeping motion. All of a sudden, it's like they've been stretched. And I was just sitting in a chair, and I was probably popping off about 20 shots in a row, and then taking a pause, and then doing that again. And I caught this twice, and then you've got another shot where, again, you've just got the green lights from the grid, and then the room actually takes on kind of a grayer, a brownish gray haze, and all of the lights now look like they've been swept. It's just like a big, more of a light wave than a light beam. And again, that's just where I feel that you've got a vortex that's coming in, and it's changing, and it's moving around the room, because we were feeling all kinds of energies throughout that entire, it's kind of a suite. It's a good-sized room. Mm-hmm. And it's got quite a known history of being active, and it proved itself so that night.
Wow.
That's interesting. Fascinating.
What about, before you go on to your next group of photos,
Yes.
I was just wondering, as far as artifacts that you will find often in your photography, I mean, you're someone that I consider the paranormal photography expert in the field. For folks who are just starting off investigating, what can you tell them to look for that's definitely not paranormal? Like, I know that we would see if there was a light in the room, or if we were pointing our cameras at the sun in any way, we'd get like a blue orb, and a lot of people think that that's paranormal.
When in reality, it's just a lens flare. They come in all kinds of colors. They come in blue, they come in red. Mm-hmm. You'll go and get dust particles that people will go and call orbs. I'm just not a fan of the word orb.
Right.
And when you go and see those, you're going to go and see that it's going to have a hard edge, and it's going to have a nucleus. That's a dust particle. One of the things that you can do is to go and learn it, especially with dust and those kind of particulates, is just go over to your couch or a pillow and hit it a couple of times, let it throw some dust up into the air, and take photos. You're going to find most of the area where you're going to have that kind of refraction within the light is going to be within 4 to 6 feet of you. It's going to be fairly close to you, but that's a good way to go and just get a feel of what does it look like. And this is also why you're taking multiple shots when you're going and learning about lens flares and such. They will tend to go and not move around the photo. They might move a little bit. That's because, you know, unless you're on a tripod, your hand, no matter how still you are, it's going to go and move a little bit. But part of it is just the learning curve. In the beginning, yeah, I got excited a couple of times when I got something blue and it turned out that was just a lens flare.
Right.
And this is where, you know, talk with other people that are in the field, teams that you're friendly with. Ask questions and, you know, be willing to go and accept that, no, that's not Uncle Henry in the photo like you were hoping it might have been. But that's just all part of it, is we all have to learn what is and what isn't.
Exactly. So we're saying if you see something in your photo that looks like a cell up close, even if it has a happy face in it, it's dust.
It can be. Again, you get into pareidolia. It's the same thing as when we look at the moon, we see a face. You know, we know about the man in the moon, but we know in reality it's just craters. We naturally want to make sense of what we see. And what we'll go and do is we'll go and see a face in things. This happens fairly often when you're taking photos from the outside. When you get some kind of a reflection from a window, you'll think that there's somebody there. You'll think there's someone looking back out at you. This is where having the multiple shots can help a lot. But it's also part of the learning curve, just knowing that your eyes are going to want to make sense of things. That's just who we are. That's just how we've been since birth. We're used to seeing human faces. So that's what our mind goes to very quickly.
Yeah, I was just reading on the Bing news feed the other day, coincidentally. I don't know what this means, but they've found that women who have right after giving birth, postpartum, shortly after giving birth, they seem to do that more than other people. They see faces and everything. I don't know what to relate that with, this useless bit of trivia, but I do a lot of reading on Bing.
That's interesting, though. Yeah, that would kind of make sense. You know, you're nurturing and caring for this little human face, and so that's what you're going to be acclimated to.
Right,
Good
and
point.
just as we grow and we interact with people, you know, on a daily basis. So it's just normal when you have something that you're not sure about, that you automatically go to a human face. So you just really have to keep that in mind. It needs to be a really solid photo for it to go and be an apparition. It can happen. I've got a few of my own, and I've seen some other very good photos. So it is possible. You just have to be discerning.
Right.
Yeah, so what's this next photo here?
Yes, everyone, I'm sure, is familiar with the Conjuring House.
Especially around here.
Yes, yes. I went on a day tour there about a year ago. So it's literally 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm down in the basement. And I'm just shooting pictures down the length of the basement while everybody else is in one of the rooms off to the side. And I notice on the side of the picture that there's what seems to be a figure. There seems to be what looks to be hair. There's kind of a sweep down at the bottom where the feet would be, and there's a bit of black along the edge where potentially there's a torso. And there's also a cropped photo of this to make it real obvious what it is that I'm talking about. And it's just a matter of just taking multiple shots. Now, nobody came out of the room. It was just me there the entire time. And then the shot that I find the most remarkable that I've taken in quite a while, there's what looks like to me a hand, but it's the colors. It's the multiple colors that are there. I've never caught any kind of a photo that's colorful, not to this extent. And what I find even stranger when you look at the cropped version of it, I believe that you're seeing a shadow, which I've never seen before. And I'd really love to know if there's anybody else that has had a capture that you're perceiving a shadow. But when you're looking at the one with the crop, you can see a gray area behind it, and it's kind of a hand shape that's just there, but it's the colors are what really intrigue me the most. And then there's a final shot because I like to go and have the pictures of what it is with nothing there, so you can go and see that there aren't any gray spots on the wall. There isn't anything that I could go and interpret into the photo when it was taken. But this is just the different levels of phenomena, and you'll surprise yourself sometimes as to what you get. I was just busy taking photos and hoping for the best, and something did happen.
Well, I know, I mean, as far as the farmhouse, I've heard a lot of people say that they have experienced shadow people there.
Yes.
But, I mean, as far as capturing it in photography, I'm not surprised that it was you that has had some luck with actually capturing it in a photograph.
With the many times that I've been there, this is the only time that I've actually gotten a good capture. And I've been fortunate, to be there many times over the years. And it's such a beautiful place. And, it's about the house, it's about the land. It's just a wonderful energy. And the energy it's different since Jacqueline has taken over the property. It's taken on even a more spiritual level, as far as I'm concerned. And
what would you attribute that to?
Part of it is her background and her knowledge as being a very spiritual person coming into it, not being somebody who was a paranormal investigator when she decided that this was what she wanted to do. She just knew that she wanted to go and own and manage this property. And she comes from that kind of a background, so it's a different point of view. And I think that the entities and the energies that still very much exist in the house, they've picked up on this, and it's even nicer to go there. I mean, I've always enjoyed it. It's always felt good. Yeah, I've had my creepy moments like anybody else there. I mean, that's all part of it. You want to have that sound. What was that? What was that? And that happens. And it's all part of the experience.
I always get a little creeped out when I use the restroom in there. Because there are, there's something there, some kind of consciousness that is unusual, and I hope it
the eyes
respects
are
our privacy, at least in there.
Well, yeah. And there are stories, when you read Andrea Perron's books, that they had a couple of experiences even while in the bathroom. So yes, you kind of have that moment of, being a bit vulnerable, and, you're just kind of waiting to go and, do what you got to do, and then go back out and explore the rest of the house. But yeah, there's really no part of that property that is not touched by spirit.
Yeah, and that it does resemble a hand there. When you look at it, it's almost biblical. Like in the book of Daniel, the writing on the wall, that's where we get that expression from. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Belshazzar, when the hand appeared and wrote his doom on the wall there. That's it's kind of got an intelligence. At least that's the impression I get. You see a hand there, and there's an intelligence there.
I believe there has to be some kind of an intelligence to some degree. I mean, whether they're in our time frame, whether they're in their own time frame, and we're just coexisting, at the same time or not. We don't know for sure if they are aware of us. We certainly try to be aware of them, and that's what has happened here. But it's the colors. So when you get a chance to go and take a good look at these, the colors are what I find just the most remarkable part of the shot. And the fact that it does look like a hand.
Wow, it's interesting.
You think something was trying to materialize and just not getting the color right?
I don't know, and it's all at the edge of the photo. Most of the time, that's how captures are.
Yes.
I've only got a couple of times that I've got something nice and square and caught the entire apparition, well within the picture frame. You'll have it like half cut off or enough that you've got something, but you wish you had more.
Yeah,
It just seems to be that way. I mean, when I go and look through my viewfinder, I'm not looking at one specific thing when I'm taking a photo. I do what's kind of a soft gaze. I'm just kind of thinking about where's the outside of the photo going to be, and that's kind of how I go and judge and decide where I'm going to go and point it at. Instead of thinking, okay, I'm going to zero in on this or that. It's more about what's the entire frame. And sometimes you go and get, a little bit in it. Sometimes you go and get a lot, but,
I wonder how close that was to the camera, because if you look at it, it almost looks like, it's reaching out like, trying to tap somebody, I'm here, get a picture.
From where I was standing and from where that wall is, it couldn't have been a distance of more than 6 feet. It really couldn't have been, because there was also an opening going into the room where everybody else that was part of the tour was. But there was only so much space between the door, the wall, and such. And it really was that close by. And who knows what else might have been there. If I'd have taken a few more shots, who knows what else I might have gotten. But this is what I got for that particular day.
If I may mention, speaking of that, seeing into the spirit world, you do have this ability to see into the spirit world. Am I correct?
Yes, beyond the photography, I'm also a psychic medium. That these photos, like I'd mentioned, began in 2009, and I had an experience during an investigation in 2011 where I began to see dead people. It was a very intense experience at an investigation that this just turned on. And I've always had some psychic abilities, throughout my life. But I've spent the last, many years learning about it, working with other mediums, developing the skills. You want to make sure that you're accurate, that you're not imagining things, and that this is real, this is really happening. And I came out publicly in 2018, and that's when I began working fairs and different events and doing readings and all of that. And that's been quite an experience to go and help other people that are going through their own levels of grief. For the most part, just giving them closure. You never know what's going to come through. I've had, obviously people come through. We'll have pets come through. A variety of animals have come through. It's also just a very gratifying experience to be able to go and help somebody out, just to go and show that we continue, we go on.
Right.
We change, from an etheric body, from a physical body. And
yeah, we're just borrowing these.
Absolutely. And just to go and remind people that love never dies. It continues and it goes on.
Wonderful, wonderful saying.
Well, something that I've had discussions with people about, people who have been in the field for a very long time, is that you do, even for people who, like myself, don't really profess to have much psychic ability, you do, after being in places that maybe the veil is a little bit thinner, after a while you do develop, for somebody like me, a sort of a sensitivity to, you kind of get a sensitivity to what's around you. You are able to perceive a little bit better the more you do it. I mean, in your case, I think maybe these entities, whatever they are, sense in you, can see maybe a different light or a different kind of aura where that they know that you're sensitive to them, and you're going to pick them up either on one of your photos or by your other means.
I think it's a matter of, when you talk about energy, you're also talking about vibrations. And I think
Frequencies.
yes, and where you're talking about just with yourself, where it feels like things are being fine-tuned, they are, by just doing things repeatedly, and you know, what you are doing is your own vibration. You're just bringing it into a closer level of what's around you. And when you talk about the thinning of the veil, it's more of a fine tuning is what I think it is, because I'm not quite sure if I'm a big believer in the veil and if it thins. I really think that, you know, spirit has its own energy level as we have our own energy level. As we know, that is higher and lower depending on the day and just depending on our own energy level. And the closer that we can go and raise ours to theirs.
Frequency.
Exactly, and that's what goes and helps with the communication, I believe.
I have a
I believe
question.
that too.
Yes, exactly. What do you do to protect yourself? Because we've known people that get into this, they start experiencing things, and a lot of people get very overwhelmed. I've worked with a lot of people who are overwhelmed by suddenly they're getting this auditory and visual info and everything, this input. I mean, how do you protect yourself and protect yourself from something maybe latching onto you, like an attachment?
And following you home,
I mean, you know, there's that possibility.
setting up shop in
Ground
Julie's house.
yourself.
It's a grounding. Whenever I'm at a location, and if I go and feel that things are getting a little intense, I'm a big believer in white light. I keep sea salt in my car all the time, so I've always got that available. I mean, that's just good and basic. And it's simple tools a lot of the times are the best things that you can go and do. If things are getting a little more intense, I'll go and visualize, you know, the white light completely around me. Sometimes I'll go and build on and I'll add a layer of pink. I've even added a layer of gold on top if I'm just feeling a little uneasy. And part of it is just reminding myself that I'm okay, you know, I'm safe. I'm with people that are going to go watch out for me, that are going to go and make sure that I'm okay. And part of it is whenever you go and leave a site, you're just, whether you're doing it audibly or whether you're doing it in your head, I like to go and make it very clear that I'm leaving. Anyone that is here, you may not go with me, you must stay. And I've never had a problem in all that, at least that I'm aware of, in all these years in getting out to many locations around the country.
I think it's very, very good to actually verbalize that out loud, just exactly what you said.
Well, it's about time to wind down already. You know,
Okay.
We've waited for this for so long, and we'll have to have you back on again because this is such fascinating conversation.
I'm sure we can find more to talk
I want
about.
to know more about your mediumship.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll certainly discuss that next time, and I hope it's not too long this time. Well, thank you, Julie. Thank you so much for all that you do, all the people that you help, and for sharing with us and with our audience as well.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, God bless you, and we'll see you again very soon.
Absolutely.
This has been fascinating, hasn't it?
Absolutely. It's been too long coming.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching, for joining us, joining the three of us here, Julie, myself, and Sandra. And we will see you again in our upcoming adventures on the N.E.A.R Show. Good evening and God bless.
Good night.